Okay, cool. So, I have been trying to figure out how to structure this video and what I'm going to talk about, or sorry, I know what I'm going to talk about, how I'm going to talk about it, and everything. And I haven't really, I wasn't able to come up with, like the structure, the talking points that I wanted to follow. So I thought, fuck it, I'll just gun it, right? Like I usually do. So here we go, gunning it. Quick introduction. Who am I? Andrew. I've been a musician and producer. Not like fucking Dr. Dre level. Like, don't assume, oh, who the fuck is this guy produced our favorite records and we have no idea who he is. No, no, no. Not that deep, but that's something I've endeavored in. And now I am in the tech space, currently developing an application for university students, whole platform really, and just going through the motions of that process. All right, so those are sort of the reason I bring those two things up. I've done more in my life, but the reason I picked those two things in particular is that they are both creative and entrepreneurial in some way. So you're creating, you're building, and trying to make something and provide it to the world. Okay, and that is germane to what I'm going to be talking about today. Cool. So little introduction on that. Now, what is the topic of conversation for today, Andrew? What are we talking about? Okay, so excuse me, throat is a little bit dry and I'm missing the lower registers in the anyway. So what are we talking about today? We are I want to talk about something that's pretty much been bothering me like my entire life. And now I want to talk about sort of how I view it, many years older, wiser, sort of from above, outside, from the outside perspective, as it were, or just some of the realizations I've had along the way. So let's preface by, stating the obvious in the world. There are, doers and they're spectators for the most part. In the world, they're producers and consumers, right? Like, undeniably. And it just so happens that numerically, statistically, the pool of builders is significantly smaller than the pool of spectators, right? The people who are producing something, just by the nature of business, business principles, and sort of the tenacity that it takes to become somebody who produces something. I mean, everyone produces something in their own right, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, if we're really talking strictly about like producers and consumers, the pool of producers is significantly smaller than the pool of consumers, right? And so what that means is that, if you are somebody who is creating, producing, building, you are one in a smaller pool of people. And once you get to that level, the sheer number of those people is significantly smaller than the people who are just going to sit back and watch quietly or who are going to consume. But, spectators and consumers, there are people who are going to engage in the thing that is being produced, and then there are people that are just going to watch. And there's a lot of them. That's the majority of people. They're just going to watch, like get on with their life and just carry on, right? So preface by saying that. Now, we can sort of take a look, for instance, in my own sort of experience when I was producing music, right? When I was doing my music ting and having a blast and going in all on that business. And I'm sure many, if not every creator of some type of artistic, discipline, whether they're a painter or, they write scripts, they're a script writer, or they write books, author, whatever the case may be, any creator in the art space can tell you that, you're there, right? And you're creating your art, you're doing your thing, and obviously you're making people aware of the fact that you're creating your art, right? Because That's just who you are. That's what you do. So it's going to come up in conversation. People are going to know about it. Your friends, family, whatever, your immediate social circle are going to know that that's that thing that you do, right? But, and how, whether they support you or not, and what kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? What kind of supports and encouragement they give you along the way varies. But they know, they're aware that you do this thing, right? And then you come and you present your art, and any artist or someone who creates anything will tell you that majority of the time people will just spectate. They'll just see it. And maybe if you make a post, they'll throw the whole flame emojis and whatever. They'll do this whole thing, a fire, 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 fire. But no one's talking about your art. No one's sharing your art. No one is really consuming and engaging with it. That's their little support that they're giving you, fire emoji, fire, fire, on your Instagram post. But that's where it ends, right? Like, and that's the people that the people that personally, who are in your immediate social circle, will just do that thing, and then that's it, dead, flat. And then they'll make comments and be like, yo, fucking, we up, don't forget me, when you're famous. And you're like, realistically, motherfucker, I can't be famous because the immediate people that I have access to are not doing anything. Like, they're not helping in any way to help me get to that famous level that is supposedly going to benefit the both of us, right? And then you can come and be like, well, that's just the way it is, don't be butthurt, or then you just need to produce something that the people actually want to consume. And it's like, no, as a creative, as an artist, you're gonna make the thing that resonates with you, and then through time you find the people who resonate with that, and then they become your consumers. But what I'm really talking about here is that, what you come to find, what the experience of that creator is, an incredibly lonely and isolating experience, because it feels as though the people who are closest around you, who you are seeking support and engagement from, are just quietly spectating. Like, it seems as though they don't really give a fuck about the art that you're producing, right? And because you would expect them to be like, like, they're the support. They'll be like, yo, check out, my friend is an artist, amazing artist, they just produced this thing, and then show it to their social circle. And then, that sort of, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, then eventually you're gonna, you know what I mean? He's gonna see your art too. And so you would sort of expect, in an ideal world, that would happen, right? But it doesn't. And for whatever psychological or philosophical reason why that doesn't happen, your immediate social circle tends to not really give a fuck about the shit that you produce, right? And it just so happens to be the case. Why? I don't know. Which is okay. Like, it's fine. It's part of the process. But the English, the result of that, the return is that you feel completely isolated. One, because you're not going to find very many people who are really like in the art like that, so that you can find like mentors and support and, wisdom and just notes of experience from people who have been through this process and overcome it. It's difficult to find those people. One. Two, you feel isolated and that you lack support because your immediate social circle, right? You don't have that access to the outside world yet. Until you do. By the time you do have access to the outside world, then you're probably doing well with your art and you're probably monetizing it, and you don't really have a problem anymore. And then your immediate friend circle, like, you don't care whether they engage or not, because you've found your audience, right? So we're talking about the process until you find your audience. It's incredibly isolating, for one point I just mentioned, and two, because it feels as though the people in your immediate circle don't really give a fuck about the thing that you're doing, right? Which is like, it's a weird experience as a producer, as someone who's building, as a creative, because you're, for one, you need validation that your idea makes sense, or you're just wasting time. And, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not immediately obvious whether the thing you're producing is worth it or not. If it feels like it's worth it to you, then by all means proceed in that endeavor. And then eventually the common the common notion is that your biggest supporters are strangers. People who you've never met will fucking fly across the country to watch your show when, when it's out, but your immediate friend circle won't even post your work for free, right? To like share it to their friend circle. And it's like, and I've been guilty of doing the same thing too. But it's happened to me as well on numerous occasions, more than I can count, and it just feels weird when like I post a YouTube video or like I post a piece of work, a creative work, and people are like, yo, we're going to be on those yachts. We're going to what? And I'm like, why? How? For one, how? If the people who can actually see my work, the border that's shielding my work from the outside world, if this wall is not helping get my work to the outside world, we're not going to get on the yacht. And two, why would I bring you on the yacht when I'm famous, when you've contributed nothing to the fame? Like, and then that's when people are like, yo, he got famous and he switched up. It's like, nah, he never switched up. He's just doing him, and you weren't a part of the process, and now you expect to reap the benefit of the process, right? So for the creator, for the artist, the entrepreneur themselves, it's incredibly isolating because one, you don't have people to talk to like about the technicals, what's the business strategy, how do I record better songs, how do I market better, how do I do all of this. It's difficult to find other people who are at a similar level or in a similar grind and are accessible, for one. For two, on a day-to-day basis, you just feel like, what the fuck, because you can't share this experience with anybody else, either just conversationally, or if you put it in your art, well, your immediate circle isn't engaging in your art, so you feel like it's all falling on deaf ears, and it's incredibly isolating, and you feel alone a lot of the time, alone, right? Now, that's from the artist's perspective. Then, and Erica Badu actually did a really, really good slam poetry type of thing on Def Jam or Def Poetry Jam, whatever, about this. Friends, fans, and artists must meet. It's gorgeous. And she pretty much talks about this experience. But anyway, so you can check that out later. Number two, now from the perspective of the producer, the business individual, the entrepreneur, right? That journey. It's one thing to produce art and be a creative. It's a different thing to have an idea, develop the idea, cultivate the idea, build the utilities and resources, and then step into the world and say, hey, this is the thing that I've built, and then try and turn it into a business. It's a difficult thing to do that. Like, let's not lie. For all intents and purposes, it's not a straightforward thing. It can be facilitated by you finding like the ripest market in the world, and you somehow just fucking have the resources and you in your right place, right time type of thing. You won the Ovarian lottery and you're Steve Jobs and Bill Gates with, in the prime time where the market is ripe for innovation and things like that. And then you just fucking boom. I don't know what resources they had available when they were building in their garage, but then they managed to acquire investors and I don't know. Right? But the process, regardless, is difficult. And I think everyone can agree on that. That's why, again, numerically, most people are spectators, right? Because if it was so easy, everyone would be a producer. But most people don't even dare. Like, they're not even willing to try, right? They don't even want to think about it. So, just statistically speaking, the pool of producers and builders is significantly smaller than the pool of consumers, right? Spectators. So, just choosing to endeavor, right? Just choosing to take that path is, you're already met with an army of resistance, an army of things that do not want you to cross that barrier. So that's already difficult in and of itself. Number two, again, is that because the pool is so small, it's incredibly difficult to like find mentors, or just to find an individual. This is my experience. You guys can please chime in and tell me. Just to find an individual who is equally as hungry or equally as what can I say? Not risk averse, but the opposite of risk averse, who has a risk tolerance, who is like, you know what, fuck it. Like, fuck it. Let's just go. Let's try. Let's consume all the media pertaining to, startups and creating a business. Let's throw around ideas. Let's do X, Y, Z and the other thing. just finding that individual, another me, not someone who's already accomplished and now they're at a different level and it's difficult for me to get access to them. Someone who is my peer, you know what I mean? Someone, my peer in my Instagram, following. It's impossible. It's fucking, and this has been in my experience since like birth. You know what I mean? It's not even just now in the past like 3 years when I've endeavored to do entrepreneurial things. Like this has been in my experience since birth, right? So one, it's difficult to find the mentor, the wisdom, the like actually live from another person. You can get it on YouTube, sort of asynchronously, like not vicariously, but the what's the word? I forgot. It'll come back later. But anyway, you can get it like in retrospect after the fact and get their wisdom off the internet, which is cool. But it would be nice to talk to somebody live, right? That would be awesome. And number one. Number two is that it's impossible to find someone who is somewhere within that level, threshold of tolerance, little delta here, who fits in the space that I am now currently within, and someone who we could just motivate each other and go back and forth and do this whole thing. It's hard. It's really hard. And then on top of that, because typically, right, if you choose to endeavor in something like this, the average person doesn't have sort of the technical know-how and aren't privy to all the processes that need to happen in the back end for the front end product to exist, right? So it's difficult to converse with them about it and be like, Andrew, what's going on today? It's like, oh man, I'm really struggling because I'm trying to build this thing, but then this thing is a problem. And before I can even get to this, I need to handle this situation and like this, the technical, legal, whatever jargon, when you can try and dumb it down and explain it. But like, that's just for the purposes of conversation, because majority of the time, 99% of the time, they'll hear you and you can explain it in whatever layman's terms and they'll hear it, but they don't really have anything to input, which is okay, right? Which is okay, because not everyone should be your counsel, your advisor, like everyone has different hats, different roles that they fill in your relationships in your life. But when you now try to, like, as a perfect example, while I'm building this app, right? I'm building this app and there are issues that I face, right? When it's technical issues, then me and my developers go over that process. When it's not technical issues, right? When it's business related, legal related, marketing related, they're not those people, right? They're specifically there to do one job and they do it really well. When I need ideas and I need to like bounce off ideas and validate, we have those conversations because obviously they're a part of the project, they're building it, so it's important that they know. But after the idea is fleshed out and I need to implement it, I can't ask them because they don't know, because that's not their area of expertise. So now where do I go? I have to fucking hit Google and just try and just identify a needle in a haystack of somebody who might have this information. And I can like sort of just, feed off and like just, you know what I mean? And it's difficult because there's no one there. So then my friends ask me when they decide that they care about the app that I'm building. They're like, hey, how's the thing going? And I'm like, I would love to tell you, but I can't because you would have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. So let me water it down. This is the problem that I'm facing and it's bothering me. And then they're like, oh, you'll figure it out eventually. And I'm like, thanks, I guess, for that vote of confidence. Like, I appreciate that you believe to some degree that I'll figure it out eventually, but like saying that, it doesn't do anything for me. You know what I mean? Like, I already believe that I'll figure it out eventually. That's why I'm on this journey. Otherwise, I would have quit. Like, if I didn't have the innate belief that I could figure it out and do it, I would have already quit because I've been hit with a bajillion problems in this journey, on this journey. So I already have the innate belief that I'll figure it out eventually. And then I also don't know, like, are you just saying that because you're a friend and that's a nice thing to say? Or do you actually fully believe that I'll figure it out eventually and that the thing that I'm building is worth something? It's a different distinction and that's a complicated one. But, just saying, yeah, you're good. You know what I mean? Or like, and that's an experience that I've had with people who have asked me about the project that I'm building, is that like, I'll tell them the thing that's really like, I'm really struggling with. And the response is just like a simple friend response, like, oh, that's okay, you'll figure it out. Or like, you're a smart guy, And I'm like, please, I'm begging for some feedback. Do you have any insight on the problem I might be facing? Or do you know anyone who would know anything about that? Like, please, you know what I mean? Help me. Telling me that I'll figure it out eventually is just like, I can just make that a wallpaper on my computer. And whenever I'm feeling stuck, I'll just go look at the wallpaper. Oh, Andrew, you'll figure it out eventually. Cool. Why do I need to even engage in the conversation, right? So that's how I feel about the situation. And then even on top of that, right? So now we're talking about your immediate social circle. Talking about your parents, your friends, your significant other, whatever, relationships, whatever, whoever is immediately available to you, right? The journey, the path of the entrepreneur is an incredibly lonely one for the reasons that I've just explained. And the additional reason that it's just human nature. It's a very rare thing to invest in potential. People do it in relationships all the time for some reason, for amazing reasons. I think it's because they don't want to, they don't want the short end of the stick, right? So if they find a person who they're emotionally invested in, and emotional investment is the big one, that's the catalyst. So if you find someone who you're emotionally invested in, you are going to do whatever to secure the belief that they are going to be everything you could have ever wanted, right? So that naturally translates in romantic relationships, even platonic relationships, really. It naturally translates, but it doesn't translate the same with products unless the person has identified a product that is their thing. And again, they'll invest in the potential of it only in those very strict circumstances. So, unfortunately, if they're not the target demographic, right? And my friends, my product isn't the target demographic because we've already graduated, right? They're my peers. So my friend group is not my target demographic. My target demographic is people who are currently in university or who are just starting university. So for my friends, they don't care, really. And so so they don't have that investment in it. But even still, like the general population, especially again if they're not the target demographic, my investors, when I get to the point of seeking out investment, are not my target demographic. So you know what I mean, it's risky for them to invest in potential. They want to invest in what it is right now, and if what it is right now doesn't strike them as the thing, you're not getting investment, right? You need to have your numbers. You've seen Dragon's Den and all that shit. I love that show. You could have the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't have right now, it's difficult to sell the greatest idea in the world unless it's like the greatest idea in the world. You know what I mean? They would turn down Uber, and then 5 years later, Uber is like this quadrillion billion dollar market valuation. You know what I mean? Like, so anyway, but now we're talking about big things. Now your immediate people, right, around you aren't going to invest in the potential either. Right? Like they love you and, they wish you well, but they're not going to invest in what your thing could be. They just want to see whether it's pertinent to them or not, whether it's germane or not. And most of the time, for whatever psychological reason, it's not germane. They don't give a fuck. And I don't understand why. It's so crazy. Like you would think that because you guys have this bond, this relationship that's been nurtured over how long, and you're important to each other, they would by default be invested in the thing that you want to do and your success, right? And they don't give a fuck. And so then now you are left feeling like, okay, I can't talk to anyone about the problem because I don't have access to the people who could share their wisdom in getting me the results I need. Number two, I can't talk to the people around me because for some reason no one really cares about the thing that I'm doing until it blows up, and then they can benefit from the fact that I've done a thing. You know what I mean? Aside from like your parents or whatever. And then number three is that I'm incredibly alone and isolated in this process because I cannot share the experience of being an entrepreneur with anybody because they don't know what it's like. they can't relate to it. And so to them, they're trying to be a good friend or a good parent and be like, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. And you're like, yeah, but that's not the problem that I'm facing. I'm not worried about whether or not I'll figure it out. I'm struggling with the day-to-day process of reminding myself that against all the odds, against, all the barriers and the resistance that'll make you feel like, actually, you know what, you can't do this, I feel like a piece of shit. That's the day-to-day problem that I'm experiencing. Not every day, right? They're waves. Everything comes in waves. Some days you're feeling like hot shit and you're banging out problem after problem and you're like, this thing is actually going to be the thing and it's going to go so far. And then other days you sink all the way down. You're like, I'm a piece of shit. I can't get out of bed. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't even know if anyone wants this. Like, I don't know. And I can't share that with anyone. But then it's weird because, like, for you, how far it would go if, one of your parents was like, you know what, I don't know what you're doing. Like, the technicals of it, you can explain to me what the general idea is. Cool. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going to give you some wisdom, some advice from having been in this world for long and seeing things come and go and that whole process. I don't know what you're struggling with, maybe on the technical side or on the business side or anything, but I'll tell you what, this is what you can do. Or if you're feeling this type of way, this is the conversation that we're having about that. Why? Because I fucking believe in you and I can actually see your vision. And if you fail, at least you fucking tried. But I know that you're going to do it. Like, really, you are putting the work. You're going in day to day to day to day to day. And I don't understand maybe how shitty it feels to feel like, you're completely alone and isolated and no one is hearing the thing that you're saying and no one is interested in the thing that you're creating. But that's just part of the journey. That's part of the path. I get it. And I will support. I'll do whatever I can do to actually enable this thing to happen. Similarly from a friend, from a partner, to just sit there and be like, look, I don't know what the fuck you're doing and what you're talking about, but I actually believe in you. If you need me to share this thing, I'm going to share it. If you need me to talk to people about it, I'm going to talk to people about it. If you need to just sit down and complain to me about how shitty of an experience this is, I'm here. Tell me and we'll figure it out because I believe in you. You know what I mean? And, somehow I've got like, it doesn't help. It doesn't help a lot when, the people that you care about hit you with a response like, I'll believe it when I see it. Because, like, how am I supposed to, you know what I mean? Like, how am I supposed to feel about that? Like, you'll believe it when you see it. Okay, well, if it doesn't come, now I just look like a piece of shit who failed. But if it does come, now I'm gonna feel weird because it's like, okay, now you're excited because I've proven that it can be done. So you weren't with it before, but now you're with it because I've shown and now I have all the results. I've got the fruits of my labor. And that feels weird. And it's also not helpful, especially coming from your immediate circle. You would just hope that your immediate circle is by default, even if they're fucking lying to you, even if they don't believe it at all, even if they like cannot see your thing working, right? There's like time for the truth, the hard truth, but then there's also more time for the support. And, even if you really didn't believe it, you could be like, listen, I know how much this means to you and I know how much you're pushing to make it happen. And I believe that you have the capacity to get it done. I believe that this thing will be a thing and you're going to make it. You're going to make it a thing. You're going to turn it into a thing and you're going to take it as far as you can take it. I believe it. I support it. I'm with you 100%. And then, there is time for the truth where you're like, listen, your bars are whack. Okay, let's handle that. I believe you could be a great musician, but you need help. Your bars suck. Go fix that shit and then reiterate. Similarly, over here, you know what I mean? The person could be like, listen, the idea that you have, I don't see it going anywhere. But I believe in you as a creative, as an entrepreneur, and I believe that you have the capacity to find another idea and kill it. You know what I mean? I'll believe it when I see it. Not only doesn't do anything for me, it makes me feel shittier on top of already feeling isolated and alone in this process. Because then it feels like I just can't talk to you about the process. I can't talk to, out of the limited scope of people that I have to talk to, now it feels like I have even less people to talk to about the process. And that's shitty. And so, that's pretty much it and everything I wanted to talk about. Just like if you're the friend or the family member or like the partner of somebody who, is ambitious and has the drive and the tenacity and, the fearlessness, really the courage, because this shit is scary, to really put yourself in the public eye, to be judged and rejected and have to do it again and again and again to get your message out there until you find the people who actually want the thing that you're providing. It's scary and it sucks and it hurts, right? So if you are the friend, parent, partner of somebody who has the balls really to do something like that, I would really advise that you actually recognize really what the person is doing and just be nice. Really. just be nice. If it's not for you, like if you don't think that you have the capacity to be on this journey with this person, then don't. You know what I mean? Like don't be on the journey. That person is pretty much better off without you than having you there and then hitting them with the anti what they need at any given moment. So, just be nice. If you don't understand what they're doing, engage, ask them about what they're doing and what their struggles are. You might learn something cool, or you might know the solution to that problem, which is the thing. Like, you don't need to be a coder to have coding solutions, right? Everyone has different experiences and different ways of problem solving. You could suggest the exact perfect thing that they would need to help them solve their problem, or you might know the person to help solve their problem. Like you might know somebody is in your social circle and be like, look, this person that I know that I play golf with or tennis or whatever I garden with, they know, they know, they've been in the same situation. They know, right? So it's like everyone has a thing that they can contribute. Just telling me, oh, you're smart, Angie, you'll figure it out. I appreciate that. I really do. But that's not my problem. My problem isn't that I don't feel like I'll figure it out. I don't believe that I'll figure it out. My problem is the problem at hand and the fact that I feel like a piece of shit sometimes. And I don't know what to do about it. I don't know how to reconcile those things. So, and then, I'll believe it when I see it. That's a harsh one. Maybe keep that to yourself or something. Like, don't. That one sucks. But anyway, that's really, I just wanted to sort of point that out there and say that I get it. And I know that there are people like me who really feel this way and feel like they can't find the solutions to their problems, but they also can't talk to anybody about the fact that they can't find solutions to their problems. And they still have this burning desire, this really ass-kicking pain to keep doing it and to keep pushing and to keep going despite all the odds. And so it, it just feels like a rocket is smashing your face into a brick wall and you can't tell anybody about it because no one is really available to hear that. And maybe that just means I have shitty friends. I don't know. Like, maybe this isn't a common experience at all. I don't know. I don't know how to, but I can believe that it is a common experience because any entrepreneur, anybody who's ever made it will tell you that the process is lonely and being at the top is lonely. Why? Because there are just so few people up there. You know what I mean? There's nobody there. So I know that there are other people who might be experiencing this, and I hope this lands, and I hope they get to see it, and I hope they reach out to me. Well, actually, the only reason is because, I'm thinking of putting together a community of these people, right? These creatives, these producers, these builders, not spectators, not people who will just sit on the sidelines and watch, because that's already all of the internet. That's all of the Instagram. That's all of when you go outside, is just people who are watching and waiting to see whether you make it or you fail. If you fail, they're going to be like, haha, that's why I didn't do it. If you made it, they'll be like, oh man, life sucks. I shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's like shoulda, woulda, coulda until you die. It's not going to take you anywhere. You might as well just fucking do the thing and then see what happens. You never know, right? So enough of the world is spectators. I don't want that. I want to put together a community of creatives, of, people who have the risk tolerance, people who, have the desire to do, people who are trying to build at various levels, people who have already built and are willing to be a part of the community and share wisdom and share their experience, people who have the feeling that they want to but haven't started building or creating anything yet, so that they can get that support and motivation and all that good stuff, learn the lessons, get advice. And then people who are currently in the fucking trenches right now, like me, who are in the process of building, who can share the day-to-day aspects, the day-to-day pain, the day-to-day struggles of the marketing and the legal and the business and the coding and the UI UX and all, like, everything, right? The whole process. And I would love to put together that community of like-minded individuals, because I feel like it's really lacking. And really, I'm just trying to solve my own problem. I'm just trying to scratch my own itch, because it's just impossible for me to find these people. So if I can conglomerate all these people and make it more accessible to other people, I feel like more people would produce more shit, and that'll just be better for everybody, especially the spectators, because then they'll just get more shit, which sounds pretty cool to me. So I don't know. I don't know why they'd have beef with that. But yeah. So anyway, so I don't know if you're interested or whatever, just drop it in the comments or shoot me a message. I don't know. I don't know. If fucking find me on Instagram, DM me, nigga. Do whatever if you're interested. And then if I get enough interest from enough people who are of this caliber, then I'll build the shit. And then there we go. Now you've got support, motivation, and wisdom and information, advice from people from eclectic, different disciplines, who can share their different modes of problem solving and different ways of thinking. That's what it is, man. I hope this, was valuable to you in some way. And yeah, just know that you're not the only one who feels like a piece of shit pretty regularly about your entrepreneurial or creative endeavors. Cool. All right. Awesome.